Welcome back to AM Northwest. Here to share how you can thrive in even the most extreme times in your life, we welcome the author of Spontaneous Transformation, Jennifer McLean. Good to have you with us, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me, Helen.
So what's inspired this book in the first place?
We are in extreme times.
Yeah.
And I personally needed something that helped me to cope with my life. I was in constant reaction, and I discovered this system of healing, of transformation that allowed me to use the moment. And in the moment, use it to transform me from upset and pain to peace and calm, having space in my field to respond to life instead of react to it.
And are these, when you talk about the extreme times, are we talking about, let's say someone in your life passes away, you're having trouble in your marriage, that kind of thing?
Yes,
okay.
Physical health, financial upset, relationships upset, things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
You know, there's a political scene right now that
it's crazy.
is disturbing to many people. You've seen it, it's blowing up on Facebook.
Yeah.
So there's something here that allows people to use those moments. And what they're really doing is those moments are showing us a piece of our history.
Oh.
They're showing us a piece of our past that is unresolved.
Right. Good
and
point.
so we can use it to change.
One of the things you talk about is acknowledging our own reality. So explain
Yes.
what you mean by that.
Well, it's kind of about, right now in our world, we are supported powerfully. We have coaches, we have trainers, we have psychologists, we have yoga instructors, we have colonic therapists, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So we have all these people.
Because every colon needs a therapist.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a therapist for every part of you. And I mean, it's what I do too. And yet, we're often looking outside of ourselves for the answer. And what I've discovered is the answer is within.
So give me an example of that.
Yeah, so in my book I talk about Barbara. Barbara has a terrible fear of her financial situation. She is just terrified, and fear feeds upon fear, feeds upon fear. And so what she did was she used this system to go inside and have a little conversation with the fear. I know it sounds a little weird, it's a little woo-woo, but it really transformed not only the situation, but she created an opening to see opportunities that were right in front of her to take advantage of for her financial situation, and changed it.
And she just calmed herself down by having a conversation with herself.
That's it. I mean, it sounds kind of simple, but it works.
And you say that we need to realize that we're responsible for our own perception.
Yes, that's correct. So what happens is we get whacked out by what's happening outside of us. And so if we can just take a minute and breathe, that's a piece of it, and just look at what's really happening. I remember I was almost homeless. I was about 10 days away from living in my car.
Wow.
I was transforming from one career to another, and it didn't work. And in that, I had these conversations with myself that was like, well, am I homeless right now? No. Am I homeless now? No. Am I safe now? Yes. And that's a little extreme version of it, but that's the idea. And I never did end up being homeless. It's a great story.
Yeah.
But I never was homeless.
But
I
could see why the fear of if someone says you're 10 days away from being homeless, the fear would probably paralyze me.
It could paralyze you, and that's what happens. And what I've discovered is a way to unparalyze us. Is to use those moments, in fact.
So talk about what's really going on now.
Yes.
Right now I have a home, and I have a car, and I have this. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
You also say that we're responsible for our own attitudes.
Yeah, and so these things you can see are starting to flow into each other. That when we can take a moment and notice and look around us and see what's really happening, now we can choose how we're going to respond to the situation. We now can change our attitude about it, just like you were saying. Now we can say, wait a minute, that hasn't happened. That future catastrophe has not happened. I'm here right now, and I'm present right now. And then there's also a part of us that has a glitch from the past that is being triggered up likely too. That's what fear usually is. Something from the past that didn't get quite resolved.
Yeah, like I'm guessing the woman who was worried about her finances came from a hard luck life and didn't want to go back there.
Yes, it could be that, and it could be as simple as her parents fighting about finances.
Oh, there you go.
And there's this glitch inside of her that whenever money's there, it's like, whoa, no.
Okay, that makes sense. And choose a response instead of a reaction.
Yeah, and that's harder to do from a conscious perspective. And when you do the first three things, when you are looking at what's real, you're understanding what your attitude is about it, you now have space to respond instead of react.
An example would be?
So when you are in a moment where you know, sometimes in our life it feels like life is right here, right? And then you've got the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Sure.
And all of a sudden you're in reaction, and you're reacting bigger really than the situation merits. So, you know, something political happens on television, you're like, what? And freaking out.
Oh, you just did an impersonation of me. That's me every morning. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in that moment of reaction, it was too much.
Yeah.
So when you do this,
but it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one final straw. It was all the things that built up to that.
That's exactly right. And so if you start on the first thing and start playing with it in a new way and start noticing and start paying attention to what's really going on for you and your reaction in the moment, and then using that moment to change your mind about it, using that moment to what I recommend is going inside, going to a deeper level, having conversations with these parts of ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, really good tips. We're going to say you have a book event.
Yes.
So if everyone would like to meet you and talk about your book, at 7 o'clock tonight at New Renaissance Books, and that's on 1338 Northwest 23rd. We'll put that information for you on our website at k2.com. Spontaneous Transformation. Jennifer McLean, thank you very much.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
me.